everyone. Welcome to a conversation with Dr. Uche Odiatu about how to maximize your energy. Hello, doctor. How are you? How are you doing this beautiful morning in Toronto? We both live in Toronto, so it's nice to be able to do this.
Yeah, it's great. It's the center of the universe, one of the top 10 best cities in the world to live in. So I'm doing great.
That's great. The topic maximizing your energy is a great topic. And I think all of us have gone through something that we have never probably experienced in our entire life, right? Probably unless you're 120 years old, you probably haven't seen anything like it. So this was a tough time for a lot of people, young, old. I know even my 15-year-old daughter, she has been quote unquote homeschooling for the last 15 months since March of last year. And it's a big adjustment because, their routine is they get up in the morning, get dressed, go to school, see their friends, come home, do homework, play, all that stuff. But now it's all turned upside down and you can't even see each other. And slowly cities are opening up and lifting up. And even Toronto, I think, where I live in Mississauga, they now are allowing, outdoor patios to be open. So, slowly things are opening up. But even that with restrictions, only so many people and so forth. But so this has been a tough time. So share with me your experience about COVID and how this has impacted people and why you picked this topic.
Well, I think energy is one of the biggest reasons why people end up going to the medical doctor. Lack of energy, and lack of energy is actually one of the top symptoms of many serious diseases. So lacking energy is not always a good thing. Because it could be a really serious disease. Cancer, a big part of that. Cancer cells sap your energy. So cancer could be a part of that. So when people say they lack energy, I get concerned. I get patients falling asleep in the chair. I get dentists who are just exhausted from, and hygienists, and the whole team just exhausted from a year and a half of PPE, glass shields, double masks, scrub hats. It's exhausting. You top that off with the regular challenges of everyday practice, which is like anxiety-ridden patients, even coming in for veneers. There's still a hint of a trepidation because they got to get anesthetized. So between anxiety of regular practice, between the challenges of we're all getting a little older with every day, and you top that off with a global pandemic and feeling the angst of what's going on in the news and the daily COVID death, it's exhausting. And many people didn't have a great physical and emotional reserve to begin with come March 15th. So they're really sucking wind. But if you were fit and had good relationships and good emotional health, it wasn't as taxing as for those who had no reserve in their tank.
I can relate to this because I have always put my health last in the list of all my priorities. And I have started changing that. Partly it was forced on me. I had a brain surgery and I had to kind of adapt. I had a pituitary gland that was not functioning, so I had to take some pills for hormones and stuff. And then of course my doctor said your brain tumor won't kill you, but it's your cholesterol and the other stuff that's going to kill you. So you better get your health in order. The neurosurgeon. So I thought I'll take it seriously. It has been a slow journey, but recently over the last month or so, I think maybe 31st of May. I started going on a calorie restricted diet, so I get sleep. So I sleep at least 7 hours a day, maybe more, which I used to not get in the past. I use the CPAP, because I have this sleep apnea challenges, and I try to eat everything and drink a lot of water, but try to restrict the amount of calories I take in. And so far, knock on wood, I guess 2 weeks in, I've lost like 8 pounds or something, and nice. Slowly, but one of my friends said, just try to lose a pound a week. He said, don't try to be crazy. Don't try to, do too much. Just take it easy. And because it took you 10, 20 years to get here, so give it a couple of years to get there as well. Don't try to. So the friend he went from 215 to 155, he was my high school roommate, and he went back to his ideal weight. And it took him a while. He's a very disciplined person. So one of the things I started doing is writing down how much I'm eating. Like every meal I write down, okay, how many calories. So then I know I have a Google sheet, like an Excel that does the math and tells me, am I under my target or above my target? So it keeps me on track, because if I don't write it down. Anyways, the reason I'm saying all this is, I think one of the revelations or one of the benefits of COVID is, I think we all started taking health more seriously. And
Mhm.
and I think even though I'm doing this to lose weight and be healthy, I feel like I have more energy when I'm doing this versus when I was not doing this. So
Nice.
anyway, I just wanted to kind of share that, like, on a personal level, and
Congratulations. That's amazing. Not everyone lost weight in the last year and a half. Most people have gained weight and got a little softer, a little fluffier, some people say. The challenge is, though, it's been the world's become 24 hours. People working from home. Most working from home was like it was 8 to 4, 9 to 5. I did a huge wellness virtual program for one of the biggest banks in Canada for 250 of their financial managers, all working from home. And they said, because everyone's such a zeal and so overachieving, especially in the banking industry, everyone wants to be number one. What happens is we don't know when to turn it off. People aren't taking lunch, not taking breaks. They're working through dinner. They're taking calls from clients at 11 o'clock at night. They're working Saturday. And now you've increased the expectation. If I'm looking for a mortgage, I'm texting my financial manager at 11 o'clock at night. Hey, did they come through? 1 o'clock in the morning, he goes, here, I'll send it to you. Let's do a Zoom call at 2:30. Let's talk about your, it's been crazy. So I think this 24-hour world we're in has really messed up the human body. And an anthropologist, Dobzhansky, said everything is understood in terms of evolution. Because we're meant to sleep at night, be awake during the day, eat once or twice a day. Now there's a thing called we eat any time of day. We skip the dishes, Uber Eats. I can order pizza. I can order Chinese food. I order food from a Michelin star restaurant and eat oysters at 7 o'clock in the morning. I can work out at 3 o'clock in the morning with my Peloton, do a Zoom call at 4 a.m. And I'm wondering why I feel like hell. Doing a lot, spinning my wheels, but not getting further ahead. So that being said, people fall off the wagon. So my idea is I'm a big believer in the fundamentals. I love simplicity. If someone can't describe their eating habits in under a minute, it's too complicated and it's not sustainable. It has to be something what Stephen Covey calls unconscious competence, where you no longer have to count. And that's why I see where you're going, Naren. I think right now you're in a conscious competence, like you're actively working on it. However, you couldn't keep this up with spreadsheets and Excel sheets next 50 years. It's just not, I can predict it's not going to happen. So at some point, it's got to be unconscious and it's got to be mindless in terms of doing it automatically. When you see a buffet, you think, hey, free food. But every cell in your primitive body, your caveman, I have one too, says free food, eat everything. But your mind goes, hey, you're not hungry. I know, but it's free. Hey, you're a dentist making over 300 grand a year, but it's free. So our ancient prehistoric cells say free food, feast until you're bursting. But the gut says, hey, if you listen to your gut, the stretch receptors in your gut, and you listen to the leptin, what happens is, hey, I don't care if it's free, I'm not hungry. And now you go back to the conversations which you should be having with our friends and with our colleagues. So that being said, that might sound complicated, but it's all about sustainable, maintainable. And that's where you get the energy from. Eat right, sleep right, move right, and process emotion right. And you will have boundless energy beyond what a venti latte will give you.
Absolutely. I totally hear you. And I agree with the move right part as well. Now that I do 10,000 or more steps a day. I just walk for an hour and a half.
Wow.
Is that the best thing to do? Like cardio, or is it better to do weights? I know that's, as we age, people talk about weights, and that needs to be part of your
Okay, great question. Exercise is number one. Since 2012, so for the last 9 years, they've actually shown that exercise moves muscles. So we have over 600 in the human body. And we used to think skin was the biggest organ and the liver was the biggest organ. Now we know muscle mass, male or female, athlete or non-athlete, our muscle is the biggest organ. And there's a crosstalk that happens. So when you're moving, when you're pumping, when you're lifting, there's a crosstalk between your 600 muscles and every organ, tissue, and cell in your body. And that message is, you're alive, you got another day. So when you talk about exercise, I think many of us, as we intellectualize things, we always want to know what's the best chest exercise, what's the best ab exercise, what's the best way to reduce, we're so annoying, I'll be in front of 1,000 people and say, Dr. Yati, what's the best exercise? Hey, the one you do. Dr. Yati, what's the best time to work out? The one you find the easiest. Dr. Yati, what's the best vegetable? The one you enjoy. So I try and make it ridiculously simple. But ultimately, to have a complete exercise program, you need strength training, cardio, and flexibility. Most people have none. So 85% of the population have none. So Nareen, you're in the top 15% just by walking, which is kind of cool, right? But if you want to get into the top 3%, which is very rare, top 3% is cardio, weights, and flexibility. Few people do all three, very few. But if you do all three though, you'll be pumping those 600 muscles, you'll be working those 2 lungs, you'll be massively inducing positive changes in your cardiometabolic changes, and the mind benefits. You know, I met Dr. Ken Cooper. He started the Cooper Clinic back in the 70s, treated over 30,000 people. 86 years young he was. And he said some of the best effects of exercise is above the shoulders. So all these dentists want to get a 6-pack for their reunion and their study club events. I'm like, no, no, no. If you want to maintain your relevance, if you want to look young, if you want to have good posture and look relevant with the new grads see a dentist with silver hair and they think, old silverback. And then the old silverback goes, how many crowns have you done? The 30-year-old dentist says 5, okay? So enthusiasm is fine, but the wisdom of experience. But if you have wisdom experience, you need muscle to look the part. Shoulders back, chin in, upright, lots of oxygen to the brain, so you can feel relevant. It's hard to feel relevant when you're weak and your posture is apologetic. Bam, I've arrived. I'm sorry, I'm taking up space.
Absolutely. I hear you. I think this is not easy. And I think for me, there was a few things that helped me a lot. Like I was trying to lose a lot every week, and I would be on that journey for a week, and then next week something happens and I give up and I redo it's like I go round and round. Then when my friend said, just lose 1 pound a week, I think it took away a lot of my stress. It took away a lot of my, like beating myself up, because this is not that big of a goal. And it changed my mindset. The other thing I think for me personally is like, I spend a lot of time with Gary. We work on things. Gary is a great influence. He runs every day. He's just takes care of his
Takis is the sun god in dentistry. Like, man, he's got great family life. He's got great friendships, his network, podcasting. The man is a revolutionary. Love the guy. He's the Paul Revere of the 2021 world. He does it all.
Exactly. So I think who you hang around with, who you spend time with also might impact you, right? Like, like if you hang around with people who are health conscious and live that way, then that's going to rub off on you, whether you like it or not. Like any tips or any suggestions for people, who have struggled and continue to struggle when it comes to energy, or when it comes to weight, or when it comes to health? All these things are all interlinked.
Well, Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut. So eating right is one of the biggest things. Even though breathing is a whole part of that, I just read a book called Breath by a gentleman, very good book on breath and the power to enliven you. However, let's stick with food. People don't have any problems breathing because you and I both breathe about 12 to 15 times a minute, about 20,000 times a day. So even though we might think we have that down pat, there's a bunch of hygienists or myofunctional therapists who say most of us are mouth breathers, which accelerates aging, increases cortisol, deposits body fat. But let's talk food. Most people's biggest challenges with food. So the whole idea being, I think when you think of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, people think, oh, I'll never drink again. Well, instead of thinking if someone's a 30-year-old alcoholic, I'll never drink again. So now you have 60 years of no booze. Just think of the next minute. Just go another minute without a drink. Let's go another minute without a drink. Let's go another minute without a drink. And I think some of us, food is an addiction. You talk about the 24-hour access to unlimited food, and just the ability to order whatever you want in a moment's notice. It's incredible how I say go meal by meal, and that might be too big for some people. I say bite by bite. With the next bite, is this food giving me energy, nutrition for my brain and my cells, or it's taking me further away? And then it's what's called mindful. It creates a mindfulness to your suggestions. And any area of your life, wherever you're a very good podcaster, you're great at marketing, you're very mindful with that. But now with your food, you become more mindful. So any areas of life where we're more mindful, we get more joy. I know a lot of prosthodontists or people who do a lot of big rehabilitative cases, construction-wise, in the mouth. They're very mindful of their preps and the margins and how it looks and how it's going to look, and they have this vision. But when you're mindlessly prepping or mindlessly eating, there's no joy. So any place in our life where we have discipline and mindfulness, we get joy. Any place in our life where we have no discipline and we're not mindful, we have no joy. And the challenge, though, a lot of dentists, they might be great dentists or great hygienists, but there's your community role, your role in your relationships, your mental health, your financial health. So there's many spheres to life. And I think that's where it gets challenging. People try and do it all at once, and we get overwhelmed, get stressed out, so it depletes our energy. Now we think, you know what? I just need a double espresso to get through the next hour. And that's no way to live. There's no joy there. There's no joy at all.
No, absolutely. It's the other thing that I think I struggle with is, I mean, there are so many diets, right? You know, don't eat meat, fast. You go name, you know, on and on. Don't eat these kinds of food. Like there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of diets. And finally, again, this friend was influenced by a book called Bigger, Stronger, Leaner or something by Mike Matthews. It's a kind of a book, and he says it's all about calories. You could eat anything you want as long as you make sure the calories are right, meaning you're spending less than what you need to live that day. That will start burning your fat. That I found it to be helpful to me, because now I could have that ice cream, but I don't need to eat like a whole tub of ice cream. I could have 3 spoons, because I know, okay, that's 100 calories, So I don't know. I think one thing I'm also realizing is you can't win by putting somebody else's plan in place. You have to make your own plan. You have to find something, like you said, that works for you. What works for this other person, who's a big star, may not work for you. So it's a very personal journey, right? It's about making it a priority, figuring these things out. Just like I give time to podcasting or marketing, things that I'm passionate about, I need to give time to health, till you make that fundamental switch. My wife makes my meal. I'm like, oh, it's her fault. She's the one who's giving me all the bad meals. But I have to decide what I'm going to put in my mouth. She can't stop me from putting certain.
Unless she puts a Hannibal cannibal mask over you and chains you to the pantry wall, maybe. But I think, it's personal. You need a big, huge why. Simon Sinek calls, look at your why. What is your why? To be a powerful podcast, you need energy. Joe Rogan has energy. Rush Limbaugh has energy. Jimmy Fallon has energy. Gary Takas has energy. There's very few people earning well with low energy. You're low energy, income goes down. Energy goes up, income goes up. You cannot have one or the other. So one way to say I want to have more health is I want energy to earn more. I want energy to be more present with my friends. Anyone who's tired doesn't enjoy. If you're tired at a party, you're not very effective networking. If you're tired in a staff huddle, you're not a very good leader in that huddle. If you're a tired hygienist during an appointment, you're not very effective parlaying prevention tips to your patients. So that being said, getting back your energy, getting back your mojo is really getting back your life. Energy is like the currency of life. It's coin, it's cash. And people say, Uch, you're so dynamic, you're so interesting. Well, say if I talk like this and said, yeah, we're just gonna whoop it up here, and I'm gonna talk about the best kind of caffeine pill. Who wants that? A big part of communication is posture and languaging. You spend so much time on the words, and a big part of you and me integrating and getting people moved to create a shift in their perception of seeing the body is really important, is how you and I hold ourselves, right? And how much energy that comes through this mouth of mine. The words don't matter as much as the level of belief I have in the subject. And I'm a huge believer. And that's why I'm speaking in 11 cities between September 9th and December 11th. So September 9th, San Francisco, CDA North. December 10th, 11th, Orlando in American Association of Dental Office Managers. I'm going to be 17th in North Dakota, their annual state meeting. 30th in Ohio. October 2nd, keynoting at the Pancake Alumni Meeting in San Antonio. List goes on. Greater New York. There's Hollywood, Florida at the South Florida Dental Meeting. And November 11th, the Pacific Northwest Dental Conference in Washington. And they want me because of my energy and my passion. If I needed coffee to get going in the morning, and if I lacked energy, and if I was apologetic, no one would want me. So I'm enthusiastic about the information. I care about my colleagues, and hence people want to know, Uch, how do you do it? How do you get up like this? How do you put more juice into every moment? And this is what I'm sharing. There's science behind this. There's real science behind you eat better, you have more energy. You sleep better, you have more energy. You move a certain way, you have more energy. And that's why I'm here.
Absolutely. We talked about sleep, you talked about exercise, you talked about food. What about mind? Like I find I don't have energy when I don't have a purpose. Like if it's all about me, or I want to make more money, or I want this, that doesn't give me energy. But when I dedicate myself to a purpose, a cause, a vision, I get a lot of energy. Like talk about like how does mind play when it comes to energy?
Yeah, you can tell you're in your sweet spot when time flies by. Anytime you're doing something and time flies by, that's what your sweet spot is. That's how way you should earn your money. When people look at you and go like, oh my God, and they can't take their eyes off you, they're riveted, you're doing what you're meant to do. Anytime you look at the clock and going, oh, another 2 minutes. Oh, 1 more minute. If it's 5 to 5, 5 minutes to 5 o'clock, and your team is looking at the clock saying, I can't wait to get out of here, maybe working in a dental office is not their sweet spot. Your sweet spot is found when you lose track of time. You lose your spirit in that present moment. And that's where passion is. Think of Elvis Presley singing. Think of Donald Trump at a rally. Think of Joe Biden in one of his press conferences to be equal opportunity. Think of George Clooney talking about human rights around the world. You look at different people and you see anytime time flies by and people are riveted, you're in your sweet spot, and that you have energy. Anytime you need to prop yourself up with artificial energy drinks, there's 18-year-olds that take energy drinks, and I'm thinking like, hey, maybe you should get a more exciting agenda. So I haven't had a coffee this morning, even though you think I might have, because I get excited about sharing. I haven't had anything this morning except water. So I am fueled for this mission of mine of sharing this whole body health message with my colleagues and show them the productivity advantages of putting health first. Like Buddha said, health is the first wealth. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Buddha said, put your health first, and that is where your true value is. The body first. You get one body to last a lifetime. One body. You don't get a second chance. You might get a second chance at a knee or a hip. Hey, a heart transplant maybe. Liver, I don't think so. A brain, they've never done a transplant yet. So one body, one life, no rematch. No rematch.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So you're talking about find that thing that you're passionate about. Like, for example, I hate doing taxes. So when I was young, I was trying to do it and I hated it. I postponed it. Like, you could, put a nail in my head and that would feel better than doing my taxes. But different people are good at certain things, right? Different people enjoy certain things. So what he's saying is find that thing that where time, like there's a book called Flow. I'm sure you may have read it. It talks about people who are, surfing and the waves, like time just stops. Or people who are climbing, like in that moment, and he talks about that moment as being in flow. Michael Shumiaki, I think is the name.
Nice.
You know what I'm talking about, right? The book.
Yes.
So you're saying find that and try to do more of that. Any other tips on the mind side to support energy?
Watch your breath. I think anytime we're mouth breathing, the brain is starving. So if you want to enliven your brain, breathe in through your mouth. That's why when you're talking, many times you're mouth breathing. But remember, they talked about Socrates and Plato had such booming voices. They would talk, and then when they'd go, and the nostrils would flare as they inhale. They had no microphones then. There was no wireless lab. So they had an amphitheater, and these people would talk without any means to adjust them, other than the natural acclimity of an amphitheater. But I'd say look at your breath, look at your posture. This is high energy posture. Me standing like this is bad ergonomically, but also it's starving my brain. Even right now, you start having more darker thoughts looking down. You look up, enlivens you. I know there's hygienists that are so good at connecting with patients, and every hygienist, like every dentist, is not the same. Every hygienist is not the same. Every assistant is not the same. But I hear some hygienists tell a story about an interaction with a patient, and they get enlivened. Like, I made a connection today. It was great. The patient turned around, and they felt that's in the moment passion. That's what they were meant to do, connecting, authentic communication. So I think breath is a big part of that. If ever I find myself lacking energy in that moment, I realize I'm breathing shallow. So a deep breath into the nose. I know Tony Robbins has a thing called priming, and he talks about get your hands above your head and it's like a venti latte, triple shot, a little bit of cinnamon on top, and he calls it priming. And then you go into an area where you close your eyes and think back to a time in your life where you felt really powerful, Or what? Think of one of the best moments in your life. You can do that anytime. Some people get married, and that's the best moment. Some people win an award, and that's the best moment. Some people get a promotion or an accolade, and that's the best moment. So use that moment. He talks about going back there in your mind, close your eyes, go back to that trophy, go back to that victory, go back to that standing ovation, breathe it in, open up your eyes, and now have the interview. And now you'll be a lot more powerful because you've changed your breath, rehearsed, and gone back to a past time that you felt incredible. And now you take all that history, all that breath work into the present moment. And that's when you become incredible. And some people do that naturally. Some people have to kick it up using artificial means. But if you can change your breath, rehearse a past win, and not just think about it, really relive it in your mind's eye, breathe like it, make it in full color, and then go into the interview, then go into the crown prep, then find that MB2 canal, then seek those 6 veneers, okay? So there's ways to utilize physiology to increase your energy and come across more relevant. It's all about being relevant to the discussion.
Makes sense. The book you were talking about, The Breath, is that called Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor, or is that a different book?
Yeah, James Nestor. Yeah, I got the audiobook about a month ago and went through it. And you think that the only way to breathe is nose and mouth, but there's Botego breathing, there's box breathing, there's inhale for 2 breaths. Try it now, Nurin. Let's try it. So inhale for 2 seconds, and inhale slowly through your nose for 2 seconds. Now hold it for 2 seconds. And now exhale for 2, nose or mouth. And when you exhale, stop and don't do anything for 2 seconds. So there's 4 parts to that mindful breath. That's a very mindful way to breathe. Most people don't breathe that mindfully, but all the martial artists, all the gurus from Tesla to anyone that's tapping into the Akashic record, which is the history of human civilization, alters their breath. And you can tap into the infinite field. The infinite field is when you get an idea and you think, I'm going to act in the idea. And then you have a good friend saying, I was thinking of you at that same time. And you're like, then with 86,000 seconds in a day, you were tapping into the infinite field. If you tapped into someone else's thought and acted on it, that is, you got to start looking at it as not just a coincidence. I'm now listening to the message of the universe. And they talk about the pause between breaths is the gap. It's the womb of creation. Most of us don't breathe mindfully, so we never tap into that creative gap. But if you get to the point of being more mindful with breath, you can tap into the womb of creation. And that's where everything exists all at once. You can tap into past and forward. You can be more creative. It's really incredible. So it's beyond just drinking monster drinks to get energy. By breathing, moving, eating, and sleeping, you can tap into your youth and get that mojo back no matter what your age.
This is wonderful. You have shared a lot of wisdom with our audience today, and I mean, you're full of energy. So just you being here itself is a treat for us. Any final thoughts as we wrap this up, Dr. Uchi?
Okay, I think a lot of people think, Uchi is motivating, and they go back to work. I challenge you in the next 24 hours to take action on something that you heard. So not everyone resonated with the box breathing. Not everyone resonated with the caloric restriction. Some people resonated with the flexibility training, thinking, I don't do any flexibility training. If something resonated with you and you think, man, Uch was talking to me, I am talking to you because I said a lot of things. You and I both said, you shared some really cool success stories with your diet and the benefits with your wife and that mutual effort to go forward. So whatever resonated with one of your 110 trillion cells, take action. And that's the best place you can be. And don't worry about the rest. Or you can message me, obviously. You can talk, on I Love Dentistry. But message me, chat with me. But take action before midnight tonight on something that resonated with you. And that'll be the best thing you can do, the best use of your time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Uchi. And I want to take a moment to thank all the I Love Dentistry members who have been supporting us. We are at 8,600 members now. It's crazy how fast we have come. And I think the last time you were there, I think we had like 4,000 members. So it's like almost double. So thank you so much, everyone, for what you do and supporting us. And it's a global community. So we really appreciate everyone from every nook and corner of the world. Have a wonderful rest of the day. It's Monday, so hopefully have a wonderful rest of the week.